Egypt's history stretches across millennia, a land where the Nile's gentle current reflects the brilliance and mystery of the civilization it nourished. The pharaohs, rulers both feared and revered, projected power that extended beyond their lifetimes, leaving monuments and legacies that continue to captivate the imagination. At the surface, their reigns tell stories of wealth, conquest, and divine authority. But beneath the polished surfaces of temples and the grandeur of pyramids lies a quieter, darker narrative, one shaped by secrecy, ambition, and knowledge the rulers intended to hide. These secrets were not merely practical. They were symbolic, spiritual, and psychological. The pharaohs understood that their authority depended on perception, that knowledge held the power to elevate or destabilize. Tombs, temples, and artifacts were designed with intent, often concealing as much as they revealed. Every inscription, corridor, and object might carry multiple meanings, some accessible only to the initiated, others deliberately obscured from the public. This delicate balance of revelation and concealment set the stage for a civilization that thrived on mystery as much as power. As we explore the hidden world of the pharaohs, we encounter contrasts at every turn: life and death, light and shadow, the public image and private truth. This journey invites us to look beyond monumental facades and consider the human ambition, spiritual depth, and intricate planning behind Egypt's most iconic achievements. It is a world where silence is as meaningful as proclamation, and where every secret whispers across centuries, waiting for patient ears to listen. Before the pyramids pierced the sky, Egypt was a tapestry of villages and city-states, bound together by the life-giving Nile. From these humble beginnings arose rulers who claimed divine authority, positioning themselves as both kings and gods on earth. Their rise was not only political, but deeply intertwined with religious, cultural, and mystical frameworks. Authority was consolidated through ceremonies, strategic marriages, monumental constructions, and the cultivation of sacred knowledge. The pharaoh's power was as much about perception as it was about might. Temples and tombs projected eternal authority, yet many constructions were designed with hidden chambers, secret inscriptions, and symbolic alignments that only a select few could understand. Knowledge and secrecy were inseparable. Access to truth was controlled, and those outside the inner circle remained in awe and sometimes fear. This duality, what was seen versus what was hidden, defined the early rulers and set the tone for centuries to come. By examining the rise of the pharaohs, we see not just the accumulation of wealth and power, but the careful orchestration of history itself. They mastered the art of legacy, blending politics, religion, and secrecy into a system designed to endure beyond their lifetimes. The story of their ascent is therefore both an account of ambition and a study in hidden depths, where each decision carried weight, and every secret helped shape a civilization still revered and studied today. The pyramids rise from the desert like silent sentinels, monumental and enduring, yet within their geometric perfection lie stories far darker than the sunlit facade suggests. At first glance, these structures seem to celebrate eternity, engineering prowess, and the grandeur of pharaohs, but for those who step closer, the hidden realities become apparent. Beneath the polished limestone surfaces and precise angles are labyrinthine corridors, chambers concealed from ordinary eyes, and inscriptions whose meanings were carefully guarded. These tombs were not merely resting places for the dead. They were carefully orchestrated vaults of secrets, designed to protect sacred knowledge, treasures, and warnings intended for the living who might dare to intrude. From the earliest pyramids of the Old Kingdom to the later constructions of the New Kingdom, the designs reveal an interplay of practicality, ritual, and mystery. The ancient builders demonstrated an extraordinary understanding of geometry, astronomy, and material science, yet many of the most intricate details appear almost inexplicable. Some corridors are deliberately narrow, angled to disorient intruders, while certain chambers contain booby traps, false doors, or dead ends, suggesting that the tombs were as much about concealment as commemoration. Archaeologists have long marveled at the precision of these constructions. Yet with each discovery comes the realization that even today, many aspects of their purpose remain mysterious. Inside these tombs, hieroglyphs and wall paintings tell stories of gods, creation myths, and funerary rites, but they also carry veiled messages, warnings, and fragments of knowledge intended for the pharaoh or the priesthood alone. Some inscriptions speak of curses or retribution for those who disturb the resting place of the dead. While popular culture has sensationalized the so-called curses of the pharaohs, the inscriptions themselves suggest a deeper, more deliberate intention to protect what was sacred and to ensure that the journey of the soul would not be interrupted by the living. It is this delicate balance of reverence and fear that gives the tombs their enduring power and the sense of shadowed mystery that captivates the imagination even today. The treasures found within tombs are often extraordinary: gold, jewelry, ceremonial objects, and artifacts of immense craftsmanship. Yet it is not only the wealth that fascinates. It is the context, the arrangement, and sometimes the inexplicable nature of certain items. Small figurines, oddly shaped tools, and objects whose purpose remains uncertain suggest knowledge that was meant to remain esoteric. Were these items symbolic, magical, or simply misunderstood by modern observers? The uncertainty adds to the sense that the tombs were not merely mausoleums, but repositories of a deliberately encoded history, a history that the pharaohs wanted to shield from prying eyes. Not all tombs were equal in their secrecy. Some of the most famous, such as Tutankhamun's tomb, were astonishingly intact upon discovery, as if the sands themselves had conspired to preserve them. Others were looted, eroded, or destroyed over centuries, leaving only fragments of what once existed. Yet even in decay, the remnants whisper of grandeur and hidden purpose. Archaeologists have discovered chambers blocked by massive stones, ceilings carved with celestial imagery, and passages that align with stars or solstices, clues suggesting that the pharaoh's architects were not merely builders, but orchestrators of a cosmic design. These hidden alignments hint at a philosophy of death, power, and eternity, where every stone, every carving, was placed with intention, knowledge, and secrecy. Stories of tomb discoveries often read like quiet tales of suspense rather than tales of horror. Excavators speak of descending into silent corridors where the air is thick with dust, the only sound being the echo of footsteps and the soft brush against stone. As light flickers across hieroglyphs, long-forgotten symbols seem to emerge from the walls, hinting at rituals and knowledge whose meanings are lost to time. Some chambers contain inscriptions that have puzzled scholars for decades, depicting figures, tools, or practices not recorded elsewhere. Each discovery deepens the tension between what we can understand and what remains hidden, reminding us that the pharaoh's secrets are layered, intentionally obscured, and designed to endure beyond mortal comprehension. The psychological impact of the tombs cannot be overlooked. Even as we examine these spaces with modern tools, a sense of unease persists. The intentionality of their design, the false doors, the corridors that loop back on themselves, the isolated burial chambers, creates a feeling of being watched, of entering a space not entirely meant for outsiders. It is this tension between admiration and apprehension that forms the heart of the pharaoh's legacy. They constructed not only physical spaces but also psychological landscapes, where secrecy and awe intertwined. Walking through a tomb is not merely an archaeological endeavor. It is an encounter with the deliberate, layered mind of a ruler who sought to control not just the afterlife, but also the perception of history itself. In some tombs, archaeologists have discovered inscriptions warning of dire consequences for those who would violate the sanctity of the pharaoh's resting place. These warnings range from the symbolic to the specific, suggesting spiritual retribution, social censure, or even physical danger. While many of these curses are now understood to be ceremonial or metaphorical, their presence reveals the mindset of a civilization deeply concerned with maintaining boundaries between the living and the dead. These warnings were part of the larger architecture of secrecy, another layer in the complex system the pharaohs created to ensure their legacies were preserved while their most sacred knowledge remained protected. The tombs also reveal the duality of human ambition and mortality. For all their grandeur, these structures were built by laborers, artisans, and priests who themselves were mortal, living under the sun and struggling against the same forces that challenged every human life. The pharaoh's authority allowed them to marshal resources, yet even their power could not remove the inevitability of decay and death. This tension between permanence and impermanence, between divine aspiration and human limitation, is carved into every stone, encoded in every corridor, and echoed in the hushed whispers of the tombs. As we move from one chamber to the next, we begin to understand that the tombs of the pharaohs were more than memorials. They were deliberate statements about control, secrecy, and the eternal journey. Each passage, artifact, and inscription was carefully chosen to convey meaning to those who were permitted to understand, while simultaneously hiding deeper truths from the rest of the world. The interplay of light and shadow, of known and unknown, draws us into a contemplative state, inviting reflection on not only the lives of these rulers, but also on the nature of history itself. How much is recorded, how much is lost, and how much was deliberately concealed. In stepping into these silent stone fortresses, one feels a connection not only with the grandeur of the pharaohs, but with the enduring mystery they sought to create. The tombs are reminders that history is rarely straightforward, is a tapestry woven from what is revealed and what is intentionally hidden. As night descends over the desert and the pyramids cast long shadows across the sands, the tombs seem to breathe quietly, guarding secrets that are centuries old, waiting for the patient and the curious to listen. In this interplay of awe and mystery, the pharaohs' power persists, not only through what they left behind, but through what they carefully obscured, creating an eternal dialogue between the living and the long-departed rulers of Egypt. Beyond the monumental tombs and the gleaming obelisks, there existed a realm of the pharaohs that few were ever permitted to witness, a world of secret rituals and sacred ceremonies hidden from the public eye. These were not mere performances of piety. They were carefully guarded practices designed to preserve cosmic order, maintain political authority, and safeguard knowledge that was considered too potent for ordinary citizens. The pharaohs, by their very position as divine intermediaries, occupied a space where human life and divine expectation intertwined. Every action, every chant, every offering carried weight not only for the ruler, but for the kingdom itself. It was a world where silence was power and secrecy was a necessity. The ancient temples, though grand and imposing, often concealed chambers and altars dedicated to these hidden rites. Priests trained in esoteric knowledge guided the pharaoh through rituals that were both spiritual and strategic. Some of these ceremonies involved precise alignments with celestial bodies, using astronomy to mark important moments in the king's life and the kingdom's prosperity. Others incorporated sacred symbols, gestures, and chants that were believed to hold the power to influence the unseen forces governing life, death, and fate. To the common observer, the outward spectacle of the temple was impressive enough. The inner workings remained an enigma, deliberately shielded from prying eyes. One of the most fascinating aspects of these forbidden rituals was their connection to life, death, and immortality. Pharaohs were believed to transcend the mortal realm upon their passing, becoming eternal figures among the gods. The rituals surrounding their death were therefore of the utmost importance. Priests performed ceremonies that ensured safe passage into the afterlife, invoking protective deities and reciting incantations whose precise meanings are still only partially understood. Some inscriptions speak of secret knowledge, names of spirits, sacred formulas, and rites that were intentionally hidden or erased from the public record. These practices were not only spiritual in nature, but also practical. They reinforced the authority of the pharaoh by demonstrating mastery over forces that the ordinary people could neither comprehend nor challenge. The secrecy of these rituals also extended to their symbolic objects. Ceremonial tools, amulets, and sacred texts were often kept away from public view, accessible only to those who had been initiated into the inner sanctum of the priesthood. Some artifacts, like ornate ceremonial daggers or intricately carved figurines, seem ordinary at first glance. Yet their positioning, inscriptions, and ritual use suggest meanings that remain largely undeciphered. These objects were not mere decorations. They were instruments of power, both spiritual and political, and their careful concealment underscores the importance of knowledge as a form of authority. Despite the meticulous care taken to maintain secrecy, traces of these rituals survived, leaving us with tantalizing glimpses of their significance. Wall paintings, inscriptions, and surviving manuscripts hint at ceremonies that invoke protection, punished enemies, or communicated with the divine. Some ceremonies involve dramatic reenactments of mythological battles, intended to align the pharaoh's actions with the cosmic order. Others were performed in near-complete darkness, in chambers deep beneath temple floors, where chants echoed softly against stone walls. The physical space, combined with the rituals themselves, created an atmosphere of awe and reverence, reinforcing the pharaoh's divine authority while shielding the deeper meanings from public understanding. The concept of forbidden knowledge extended beyond the temporal life of the pharaoh. Certain rites were considered so potent that only the king and select priests could perform them, even after death. The pharaoh's transition into the afterlife was meticulously orchestrated, with rituals designed to ensure not only his own survival, but the continued stability of the kingdom. Some texts and carvings hint at secret oaths, protective incantations, and even warnings that knowledge should not fall into the hands of the uninitiated. These measures suggest a sophisticated understanding of human nature and the potential consequences of information in the wrong hands, concepts that resonate even in modern times. Interestingly, these rituals also reveal a tension between visibility and concealment. While some aspects were performed publicly to inspire loyalty and awe, the most potent ceremonies were deliberately hidden. This duality, public spectacle versus private secrecy, allowed the pharaohs to maintain an image of omnipotence while protecting knowledge that might destabilize their rule if misused. The careful choreography of what was seen and what was hidden reflects a civilization deeply attuned to the psychological power of mystery, a power that endures in the fascination we feel toward ancient Egypt today. Modern archaeology has illuminated parts of these hidden worlds, yet much remains speculative. Researchers have uncovered chambers with unusual layouts, inscriptions that reference unknown deities or forgotten rituals, and artifacts whose ceremonial purposes are still debated. Every discovery, while enlightening, seems to raise more questions than answers. The careful, deliberate obfuscation of these practices by the pharaohs and their priesthood ensures that the full scope of these rituals may never be known, leaving historians and enthusiasts alike with a sense of quiet wonder and respect for the sophistication of ancient Egyptian culture. Even the moral and philosophical dimensions of these rituals are striking. They were not only about power or superstition. They also reflected a worldview in which life, death, and cosmic order were inseparably intertwined. The pharaoh, by participating in these ceremonies, became a mediator between humanity and the divine, a figure whose actions had profound implications for both the living and the dead. The secrecy, therefore, was not simply about control. It was about the responsibility inherent in wielding knowledge that could shape the fate of a civilization. In imagining these hidden ceremonies, one can almost hear the echoes of soft chants resonating in subterranean chambers, feel the delicate weight of ceremonial tools in the pharaoh's hands, and sense the profound silence imposed upon those who were not permitted to witness. It is in this intersection of awe, secrecy, and sacred duty that the true power of the pharaohs emerges, not merely in stone or gold, but in the careful orchestration of knowledge, belief, and mystery. The hidden rituals also remind us that the pharaohs' lives were as much about protection and preparation as they were about glory and conquest. They understood that authority, like life itself, was fragile and that some knowledge carried risks if exposed prematurely. This awareness of danger, combined with a profound understanding of symbolism, ritual, and the unseen, allowed them to craft a world where power and secrecy were inseparable. The tombs, the temples, the texts, and the objects all became instruments in this carefully maintained system, a system designed to endure long after the pharaoh's mortal body had returned to dust. As we move forward into the lost chronicles and buried voices of the pharaohs, it becomes clear that these forbidden rituals were only one layer of a much larger, more intricate design. They are a testament to the pharaoh's understanding of human nature, divine order, and the delicate balance between revelation and concealment. In exploring these secret practices, we are invited not only to marvel at the sophistication of ancient Egypt, but also to reflect on the subtle power of knowledge, the responsibilities that come with it, and the enduring allure of what remains hidden. Beneath the grandeur of temples and the gleaming perfection of pyramids lies a quieter, more elusive realm. The written words of the pharaohs that have been lost, destroyed, or deliberately hidden. These are the chronicles that never made it into the public eye, the messages erased by successors, by time, or by design. Every surviving fragment, whether a weathered papyrus, a scratched inscription, or a damaged stele, hints at a larger narrative that has been partially obscured, leaving historians and archaeologists to piece together stories that were never meant to be fully understood. These lost chronicles carry the voices of rulers, priests, and scribes, whispering across millennia with a haunting intimacy. The destruction of certain texts was often intentional. Pharaohs and their advisors understood the immense power of recorded words. Documents that might reveal political intrigue, personal failures, or heretical practices were carefully removed or rewritten. Some records were obliterated to consolidate power, erase rivals, or protect sacred knowledge from those considered unworthy. The surviving fragments sometimes contradict each other, revealing a civilization not only concerned with grandeur, but acutely aware of the fragility of reputation and legacy. In these silences, we catch glimpses of truths that the pharaohs sought to hide, truths that hint at human ambition, fear, and the complexities of divine authority. Among the lost chronicles are accounts of political maneuvering, military campaigns, and intimate moments in the lives of rulers. Letters to trusted ministers, reports on rebellious regions, and petitions from citizens occasionally survive, though often incomplete. These documents provide subtle insight into the pressures faced by those who claim divine authority. Even pharaohs depicted as omnipotent and flawless were subject to doubt, hesitation, and conflict. The fragments of these records reveal a ruler navigating challenges, making difficult decisions, and relying upon secrecy to maintain control. The gaps between these surviving texts serve as reminders that history itself is shaped as much by what is lost as by what endures. Some chronicles were hidden not for political reasons, but to protect sacred knowledge. Religious texts, magical formulas, and ritual instructions were restricted to the elite priesthood and the pharaoh alone. Their purpose was to guide the ruler through the afterlife, to safeguard spiritual power, and to maintain cosmic balance. These writings were deliberately cryptic, coded in symbols and allegories understood only by those initiated into the mysteries. Over centuries, many such texts have been lost to decay, fire, or deliberate concealment, leaving modern scholars to interpret fragments that barely hint at their full meaning. What remains today is both tantalizing and frustrating, a puzzle that invites speculation without offering definitive answers. The physical fragility of ancient materials has also contributed to the loss of knowledge. Papyrus decays, ink fades, and stone erodes, leaving gaps where once full narratives existed. Some of the most important chronicles were buried with the pharaohs or hidden in temple libraries, subject to natural disasters, looting, and centuries of neglect. Yet even in these losses, echoes remain. Archaeologists occasionally discover shards of papyrus or fragments of inscriptions that hint at entire texts lost to time. Every fragment carries the weight of absence, a reminder that history is shaped as much by what is missing as by what survives. Despite these losses, some chronicles reveal astonishing details about the hidden lives of pharaohs. Tales of forbidden rituals, secret alliances, and clandestine correspondence suggest a court rife with intrigue. Some inscriptions hint at rivalries between siblings, disputes among ministers, and even personal regrets recorded in private logs. These glimpses show a civilization acutely aware of the power of secrecy and the consequences of revelation. Every erased or fragmented text reinforces the notion that the pharaohs controlled not only their kingdoms, but also the narrative of history itself, ensuring that only certain truths would survive the passage of time. The interplay between knowledge and concealment is particularly striking when considering the philosophical dimensions of these chronicles. Many texts were designed to teach moral lessons, preserve spiritual wisdom, or warn against hubris. Yet the selective preservation of records, some maintained, others destroyed, reflects the values and priorities of those in power. The gaps in the historical record, therefore, are not merely accidental. They're deliberate choices, shaping the collective memory of civilization. These deliberate absences invite the modern observer to read between the lines, to imagine what might have been recorded, and to consider the implications of knowledge that was intentionally hidden. Archaeological discoveries occasionally reveal the meticulous care with which knowledge was encoded or concealed. Inscriptions may have been carved over earlier writings, scrolls hidden within coffins, or texts sealed in chambers accessible only to initiates. Some chronicles reference practices, places, or events unknown elsewhere, hinting at a larger body of knowledge that may never be fully recovered. The deliberate layering of history in this way reflects a sophisticated understanding of both human curiosity and human folly. Certain knowledge could inspire, guide, or protect, but in the wrong hands, it could threaten the balance of power, spiritual integrity, or social order. The emotional weight of these lost chronicles is profound. Through the fragments that survive, one can almost hear the voices of those who lived thousands of years ago. Scribes recording instructions for rituals, pharaohs dictating commands, priests offering counsel, and ordinary citizens appealing for justice. These voices, though incomplete, evoke empathy and curiosity, bridging the gap between past and present. They remind us that history is not simply a record of monuments and battles, but a tapestry woven from human experience, ambition, fear, and longing. Every missing piece emphasizes the fragility of memory and the careful measures civilizations take to protect, obscure, or erase their legacies. In contemplating these lost chronicles, one realizes that the pharaohs' secrets were preserved not only in stone and gold, but also in absence. The silences themselves carry meaning. The missing texts, erased inscriptions, and hidden manuscripts form a shadow history that challenges modern understanding. They invite speculation, wonder, and quiet reflection, encouraging us to imagine the complexities of life under the rule of beings both divine and human. The gaps remind us that history is never fully knowable, that every narrative we reconstruct is shaped by what has endured and what has been deliberately concealed. As we move deeper into the mysteries of the pharaohs, the curses, the hidden chambers, and the enigmatic artifacts, we carry with us the awareness that what is lost can be as compelling as what survives. The Lost Chronicles are a testament to the enduring power of secrecy, the fragility of human record-keeping, and the careful orchestration of history by those who understood the immense weight of knowledge. They serve as both a puzzle and an invitation to look closer, to listen harder, and to contemplate the unseen forces that shaped one of the most fascinating civilizations the world has ever known. In this quiet reflection, the pharaohs' hidden voices echo across time, reminding us that beneath the monumental achievements and the golden masks lie stories deliberately buried, stories that continue to challenge, intrigue, and captivate those who seek to uncover them. These lost chronicles are not merely remnants of the past. They're living whispers that invite us into a world where knowledge, power, and mystery are inseparably intertwined, waiting patiently for those willing to listen. Among the many mysteries that surround ancient Egypt, few capture the imagination as vividly as the so-called curse of the pharaohs. It is a story that lingers in popular culture, whispered through books, films, and documentaries. A tale of sudden misfortune, inexplicable deaths, and warnings carved into stone, all associated with those who dared to disturb the eternal rest of a pharaoh. Yet beneath the sensational headlines lies a far more nuanced story, one that blends history, human psychology, and the carefully constructed aura of power that ancient rulers cultivated. To understand the curse, we must look beyond superstition and consider the deliberate interplay of fact, ritual, and fear. The origins of the pharaoh's curse are as enigmatic as the tombs themselves. Some of the earliest references appear in inscriptions placed within burial chambers, warning that desecration would invoke divine retribution. These warnings were often couched in symbolic language, referencing gods of the underworld, guardians of the tomb, and cosmic justice. For the living, such inscriptions were more than spiritual guidance. They were psychological instruments. By invoking the unseen forces of the divine, the pharaohs and their priests reinforced the sanctity of the tomb and deterred theft, intrusion, or disrespect. In this way, the curse served both a practical and mystical purpose, intertwining spiritual belief with the preservation of authority. Historical accounts from the 19th and early 20th centuries helped cement the idea of a tangible curse in modern consciousness. When Howard Carter discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1922, rumors quickly spread that those involved in the excavation suffered untimely deaths or bizarre misfortunes. While sensationalized, these stories drew heavily on the imagination of newspapers and public fascination with the mysterious East. Some scientists and historians at the time noted that many of the so-called cursed deaths were coincidental or attributable to natural causes, yet the myth endured. The persistence of the curse highlights how mystery, fear, and narrative intertwine, creating a story that is as compelling today as it was nearly a century ago. The psychological impact of the curse is perhaps as significant as any physical consequences. Human beings are deeply attuned to patterns, coincidences, and meaning, and the idea of retribution for disturbing a sacred tomb speaks directly to fears of mortality and the unknown. For those entering the tombs, knowing the inscriptions and understanding the rituals of the dead would have heightened awareness, tension, and even anxiety. This suggests that the curse, whether real or imagined, was not only a warning to outsiders, but also a mechanism that reinforced respect, humility, and caution among those permitted to handle sacred objects. In this way, the curse was as much about perception as it was about divine punishment. Scientific analysis has also provided insight into the so-called curse. Modern studies suggest that some tombs may have harbored bacteria, mold, or other pathogens that could have caused illness among those who spent prolonged periods inside confined, sealed spaces. While far from mystical, these natural explanations do not diminish the psychological power of the curse. Indeed, the combination of fear, isolation, and the imposing presence of the tombs themselves could amplify the sense of danger, making misfortune seem inevitable. Here, fact and legend blend, creating a tension between what can be proven and what lingers in the realm of the mysterious. Yet, beyond accidents and natural explanations, the curse also represents a deliberate social and spiritual construct. In a civilization where divine authority was inseparable from political power, the pharaoh's tomb was more than a resting place. It was a sacred space governed by rules, rituals, and symbols designed to protect both the body and the soul. The warnings etched into walls, the magical formulas invoked in the afterlife, and the presence of guardian deities all communicated a single message: intrusion carries consequences. These messages were meant to control behavior, safeguard knowledge, and maintain the balance between the mortal and divine realms. The curse, therefore, was not mere superstition. It was a strategic instrument of governance, spirituality, and secrecy. Modern archaeologists and historians continue to debate the existence and efficacy of the curse. Some argue that it is a compelling legend, fueled by coincidence, exaggeration, and the human desire to find meaning in misfortune. Others point to subtle patterns in inscriptions, ritual texts, and burial practices that suggest the pharaohs themselves understood the psychological power of fear. Perhaps the most enduring aspect of the curse is its symbolic resonance. It reminds us that the ancient Egyptians were masters not only of engineering and art, but also of perception, authority, and a delicate balance between seen and unseen forces. Interestingly, the curse also highlights the tension between human curiosity and respect for the sacred. Those who entered tombs, whether in antiquity or modern times, were often motivated by a desire to uncover knowledge, wealth, or historical insight. Yet in doing so, they crossed a threshold that the pharaohs and their priests had carefully guarded. This interplay between curiosity and consequence reflects a broader theme that runs throughout ancient Egyptian history. Knowledge was a powerful tool, but its acquisition carried responsibility, risk, and a need for reverence. The curse, whether literal or metaphorical, embodies this principle. Beyond individual tombs, the concept of a curse extends into the broader understanding of mortality, legacy, and cosmic order. For the pharaohs, life and death were part of an interconnected system in which divine favor, ritual precision, and human behavior intersected. By establishing a framework in which desecration brought consequences, the rulers reinforced the sanctity of their authority and the moral architecture of the universe as they understood it. In this sense, the curse is not merely about retribution. It is a reflection of a worldview in which the living and the dead, the seen and unseen, are perpetually intertwined. As night falls over the desert and the pyramids cast long, dark shadows across the sands, one can almost sense the lingering presence of these ancient warnings. The air seems heavier within the tombs, as if the whispers of priests and pharaohs still echo faintly, reminding all who enter that some knowledge is sacred and some secrets are not to be disturbed. The curse, whether grounded in history, myth, or a combination of both, continues to captivate because it embodies the tension between what is known and what is hidden, a tension that lies at the very heart of Egypt's enduring mysteries. Ultimately, the Curse of the Pharaohs is a story that blends fear with fascination, science with legend, and history with imagination. It reminds us that the pharaohs were not only rulers and builders, but also masters of perception, shaping how future generations would understand, fear, and respect them. The tombs, the inscriptions, and the warnings they left behind are part of a carefully orchestrated dialogue between life and death, power and secrecy, knowledge and reverence. In exploring this ancient phenomenon, we glimpse a civilization that understood the human mind as well as it understood the stars, a civilization that knew how to guard its secrets, command respect, and leave an impression that endures across millennia. Beneath the blazing sun and sweeping sands of Egypt lie spaces that few eyes have ever seen. Hidden chambers carved into the very bedrock of the desert, concealed within pyramids, temples, and ancient complexes. These chambers, often accessible only through narrow passages or cleverly disguised entrances, evoke a sense of silent suspense, as though the stones themselves were waiting for the patient and the curious to uncover their secrets. They were not built for casual exploration. Their design was intentional, their purpose guarded, and their contents often enigmatic. In these concealed spaces, the pharaoh's power was both literal and symbolic, a fusion of authority, knowledge, and mystery preserved behind layers of stone. Many of these hidden chambers were discovered by accident or through the meticulous work of modern archaeology, revealing a level of sophistication that continues to astonish scholars. Some chambers were constructed as decoys, false tombs meant to mislead potential thieves or outsiders, while the true burial sites lay deeper, more secure, and often shrouded in darkness. The Egyptians understood that human curiosity could be as dangerous as human ambition. They leveraged this understanding to protect not only their wealth, but the sanctity of their rituals and the secrecy of their most powerful knowledge. Each hidden chamber, in this sense, became both a vault and a message, an interplay of concealment and revelation. Inside these chambers, the atmosphere is thick with quiet reverence. Air seems to settle, dust hangs motionless in shafts of light, and the very walls exude the weight of centuries. Some chambers are modest, containing nothing more than stone sarcophagi and inscriptions, yet others are filled with artifacts that challenge comprehension. Golden objects whose purpose remains unknown, intricately carved figurines depicting scenes that appear elsewhere only in myth, and ceremonial items that defy easy explanation. Every item carries significance, not only as a material object, but as a marker of the pharaoh's desire to control perception and preserve sacred knowledge. It is as if each hidden artifact whispers a fragment of a story deliberately left incomplete. The purpose of hidden chambers often extended beyond practical protection of wealth or bodies. They were repositories of esoteric knowledge, spaces where the pharaohs and their priests could communicate with the divine in privacy, where rituals were conducted away from the public eye, and where messages intended for the afterlife could be safeguarded. Astronomical alignments, precise measurements, and careful positioning of artifacts suggest that these chambers were part of a larger cosmic plan, in which every stone and symbol carried a meaning that was understood by the pharaoh and the priesthood, but obscure to outsiders. In this way, hidden chambers were not merely physical constructs. They were sacred extensions of the pharaoh's authority and spiritual insight. Many of the discoveries within these chambers challenge modern understanding. Some rooms contain inscriptions that reference gods or practices unknown in the more commonly studied texts, hinting at a religious complexity that may have been deliberately obscured. Others contain objects whose materials or craftsmanship are unlike anything else in known Egyptian artifacts, suggesting either lost techniques or knowledge restricted to a select few. These mysteries provoke fascination, inviting speculation not just about the technology and artistry of the pharaohs, but also about their philosophical and spiritual understanding. Hidden chambers, in essence, are bridges to a world that was deliberately meant to be partially inaccessible, a realm where authority, secrecy, and sacred purpose converge. The psychological impact of hidden chambers is profound. Those who have entered them, whether ancient priests, tomb robbers, or modern archaeologists, often report a sense of stillness, tension, and awe that transcends ordinary experience. The deliberate concealment of these spaces amplifies the feeling of intimacy and reverence. It is as though one is intruding upon a world that was never meant to be fully revealed. Light behaves differently within these spaces, shadows stretching along walls that have remained untouched for millennia, creating a sense of time suspended. The very architecture enforces respect, subtly guiding behavior through the use of design, space, and the unknown. Some hidden chambers were used to store objects meant to protect or empower the pharaoh in the afterlife. Amulets, ceremonial tools, and symbolic figurines were often positioned according to precise cosmological rules, their arrangement reflecting a deep understanding of both spiritual and physical order. The placement of such items hints at a philosophy in which life, death, and eternity were interconnected, and where knowledge, when properly safeguarded, could influence the balance of cosmic forces. In these spaces, the pharaoh's authority extended beyond the mortal realm, merging with the divine and asserting control over forces invisible yet profoundly significant. Despite the security and secrecy, many hidden chambers were eventually discovered, sometimes through human error, sometimes through deliberate exploration, and sometimes by sheer chance. These discoveries often reveal the layers of planning and precaution employed by the pharaohs. False doors, concealed corridors, and misaligned passages were all part of a sophisticated strategy to mislead intruders and protect what was most sacred. Even when found, The interpretation of these spaces remains challenging, with archaeologists and historians piecing together fragments of evidence to reconstruct the original intention, purpose, and significance. The ambiguity itself is a reminder that the pharaohs designed these chambers not only to conceal, but also to provoke curiosity, reflection, and caution. In some cases, hidden chambers appear to have served symbolic or ritual purposes beyond mere burial. Certain rooms are aligned with celestial bodies, such as the rising sun, the North Star, or specific constellations, suggesting that the spaces themselves were integrated into a larger cosmic schema. Others contain inscriptions that seem to reference spiritual journeys, the underworld, or communication with deities, reinforcing the idea that these chambers were sacred spaces as much as functional ones. The combination of geometry, astronomy, and ritual creates an environment where meaning is layered, multidimensional, and often deliberately obscure, leaving modern observers with a sense of wonder and a lingering sense of the unknown. The allure of hidden chambers lies in their ability to evoke both curiosity and caution. They remind us that ancient Egypt was a civilization acutely aware of the power of knowledge and the consequences of revealing it. The pharaohs and their priests understood that some truths were not meant for everyone, and that concealment could enhance both security and reverence. In entering these spaces, whether physically or imaginatively, we encounter a dialogue across time, a conversation in which silence, shadow, and mystery speak as loudly as inscriptions and artifacts. Ultimately, hidden chambers are more than architectural marvels. They're portals into the minds, beliefs, and strategies of the pharaohs. They reveal a civilization that valued secrecy as much as spectacle, that intertwined the spiritual with the political, and that understood the enduring power of mystery. Every stone, every hidden passage, and every carefully placed object contributes to a narrative that is as much about what was kept from view as what was displayed openly. In exploring these spaces, we come closer to understanding the delicate balance of knowledge, authority, and secrecy that defined one of history's most enigmatic civilizations. As the desert wind whispers across the pyramids and the sun casts shadows over stone walls, the hidden chambers remain silent, guarding their secrets with an almost sentient patience. Their presence invites reflection on the enduring tension between revelation and concealment, between the known and the unknown. In these quiet, shadowed spaces, the pharaoh's influence persists, reminding us that history is not only what is recorded, but also what is deliberately hidden, waiting for the careful, patient observer to discover its whispers. Scattered across tombs, hidden chambers, and temples are objects that defy easy explanation, artifacts whose purpose, symbolism, and origin continue to captivate historians and archaeologists alike. These items, often overlooked in favor of monumental architecture or golden treasures, offer subtle yet profound insights into the hidden lives of the pharaohs and the world they sought to preserve beyond death. Each artifact, whether a delicate figurine, an intricately carved amulet, or a tool whose function is unclear, seems to carry whispers of knowledge deliberately hidden from ordinary eyes. In them, we encounter traces of a civilization that understood the value of secrecy, symbolism, and power. Many of these artifacts were not meant for public display. Some were buried with pharaohs to accompany them into the afterlife, their spiritual significance carefully considered and meticulously planned. Objects made of rare materials, gold, obsidian, or exotic stones, were often inscribed with symbols, spells, or instructions whose meanings remain partially or entirely obscure. These inscriptions were not merely decorative. They were protective, instructive, and symbolic, intended to guide the soul, protect the body, or preserve cosmic balance. In some cases, the complexity of these objects suggests knowledge that may have been restricted to the pharaoh and a select circle of priests, emphasizing the intersection of power, spirituality, and secrecy. Among the most intriguing are items whose function is puzzling to modern eyes. Tiny figurines depicting hybrid creatures, tools with unknown applications, or objects seemingly out of place in a funerary context invite speculation. Were these artifacts symbolic, magical, or practical? Did they serve as instruments of ritual, as markers of hidden knowledge, or as vessels for spiritual energy? The ambiguity adds to their allure, creating a sense of dialogue between the past and the present. Each artifact challenges our understanding, suggesting that the Pharaoh civilization operated with layers of meaning that are still only partially accessible. Some artifacts appear to have been deliberately concealed within walls, under floors, or in secret compartments. Their placement hints at a protective function, either safeguarding the pharaoh in the afterlife or preserving knowledge that might be dangerous if misused. In some cases, hidden artifacts bear inscriptions warning of consequences for those who disturb them, reinforcing the deliberate blend of awe, fear, and reverence in their design. These objects serve as tangible extensions of the pharaoh's philosophy, that some truths are sacred, some power must remain unseen, and that the management of knowledge was central to both life and death. The symbolic weight of these artifacts extends beyond individual use. Many pieces, from ceremonial daggers to intricately carved scarabs, encode spiritual, philosophical, and cosmic ideas. Their design reflects a sophisticated understanding of life, death, and eternity, embodying principles of protection, transformation, and continuity. Some artifacts seem to bridge the mortal and divine, serving as conduits for the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife or as instruments through which spiritual forces could be manipulated. In examining these items, we glimpse not only the artistic skill of ancient Egyptians, but also the depth of thought that informed every decision, placement, and inscription. Archaeologists have noted that some artifacts appear in multiple contexts, yet with subtle variations, suggesting layers of meaning accessible only to those initiated into sacred knowledge. A ceremonial tool might be used in both public rituals and hidden ceremonies, its significance shifting depending on context, audience, and intention. These dual purposes reinforce the theme of duality pervasive throughout the pharaoh's rule. Public display versus private practice, mortal authority versus divine aspiration, revelation versus concealment. Artifacts, like the tombs and chambers themselves, embody this tension, offering both clarity and enigma in equal measure. The study of these objects often requires imagination as much as scientific inquiry. Without complete records, historians must interpret fragments, compare symbols, and consider the broader cosmological and religious context. Yet in doing so, they encounter gaps deliberately left by the pharaohs themselves, spaces in which the curious are invited to wonder, reflect, and speculate. The very incompleteness of these artifacts, their deliberate opacity, enhances their power, ensuring that modern observers remain humbled before the intelligence, ambition, and spiritual sophistication of those who created them. Some artifacts are intimately tied to specific pharaohs, offering glimpses into personal beliefs, rituals, or ambitions. Objects found in Tutankhamun's tomb, for instance, reveal both opulence and meticulous ritual intent, blending the aesthetic with the spiritual. Other artifacts, less well-known but equally enigmatic, hint at practices and knowledge not recorded elsewhere, suggesting that the pharaoh's understanding of the cosmos and the afterlife was both vast and intentionally restricted. The circumstances surrounding the deaths of the pharaohs are often cloaked in a veil of mystery, leaving modern scholars and historians to piece together fragments of evidence and whispers from the past. Unlike the grandeur and clarity of their lives on display, towering monuments, intricate murals, and carefully inscribed decrees, the moments of their final breath were rarely recorded in detail. Some perished surrounded by loyal attendants and sacred rituals, while others vanished suddenly, leaving questions that echo through time. The narrative of death in ancient Egypt is woven with both certainty and ambiguity. Certainty in the inevitability that even gods on earth could not escape mortality, ambiguity in the shrouded circumstances that often surrounded their passing. As we explore the known facts and the enigmas that persist, the story becomes a meditation on power, vulnerability, and the human desire to preserve control even in the face of death. In certain cases, pharaohs met their end after long and celebrated reigns, their bodies succumbing to age, illness, or the cumulative toll of a life lived in unyielding command. Yet in others, their deaths seem abrupt and suspicious, hinting at deeper intrigues that were perhaps deliberately concealed. Scholars have long speculated on instances of poisoning, assassination, or orchestrated accidents, often drawing on subtle evidence from tomb inscriptions, mummy examinations, and historical chronicles. These shadows of suspicion remind us that even in a civilization as ordered as Egypt, the interplay of ambition, jealousy, and fear could reach the highest levels of power. Behind the carefully crafted masks of divinity, pharaohs were not immune to betrayal or human machinations, and the abrupt ends of some rulers underscore the fragility of their seeming omnipotence. The funerary practices that followed each death were, in many ways, extensions of the pharaoh's desire for control, ensuring that even in death they would command respect, reverence, and eternal protection. Elaborate embalming rituals, often taking weeks or months to complete, were meticulously designed to preserve both the body and the soul. These ceremonies were performed with precision, using sacred oils, linens, and incantations that were thought to guard the pharaoh from malevolent forces and guide them safely into the afterlife. Yet even within these rituals, mystery thrives. Some mummies exhibit unusual modifications or evidence of posthumous alterations, suggesting that attempts were made to obscure the true cause of death or to align the body with spiritual expectations. The tombs themselves, sealed with care and sometimes hidden behind complex architectural defenses, acted as guardians of truth, yet paradoxically, they also left questions unanswered, preserving secrets that continue to intrigue and puzzle. Modern forensic studies have provided glimpses into these ancient mysteries, though often without definitive answers. Radiological scans, DNA analyses, and microscopic examinations of mummies have revealed injuries, diseases, and genetic predispositions, yet interpreting these findings within the context of ancient records is an intricate task. For example, subtle fractures or signs of infection may hint at trauma or sudden illness, while clues such as malnutrition or chronic conditions speak to the pressures of royal life and the expectations imposed on the pharaoh. Even with such tools, many questions remain. Was a fracture the result of a fall, a ceremonial punishment, or intentional violence? Was a sudden illness a natural occurrence, or the outcome of political intrigue? The duality between the tangible evidence of death and the impenetrable gaps in the record reflects a broader theme in Egyptian history: the coexistence of clarity and enigma, of what is revealed and what is deliberately hidden. Some of the most famous examples of mysterious deaths involve pharaohs whose legacies were immediately challenged or obscured by their successors. Instances of erasure, where names were removed from monuments or records deliberately altered, complicate the task of understanding the circumstances surrounding their deaths. Such acts may have been politically motivated, an attempt to consolidate power, or to protect the memory of the dynasty while suppressing scandalous truths. The narrative of death thus intertwines with themes of legacy, memory, and historical narrative. The pharaoh's mortality was not merely a personal event, but a catalyst for political and spiritual continuity or disruption. Every death, whether peaceful or abrupt, reverberated far beyond the confines of the palace, shaping the society that depended on divine rule and the cosmic order that the pharaohs were believed to uphold. Even today, these ancient deaths carry a quiet resonance. Visitors to Egypt's tombs often report a profound sense of stillness, as if the air itself remembers those who once held absolute power. Archaeologists, carefully brushing away millennia of dust, are reminded that each artifact, each inscription, each wrinkle in linen tells a story that is simultaneously known and unknown. The silence of these tombs amplifies the mystery of death, the certainty of life's end contrasted against the ambiguity of its circumstances. As we consider the pharaoh's deaths, The mind is drawn not only to the historical details, but also to the human truths beneath. The fragility of existence, the weight of expectation, and the desire to control one's story, even beyond the veil of mortality. Ultimately, the mystery of Pharaoh's deaths serves as a mirror for our own fascination with life, power, and the unknown. Each ruler's passing invites speculation, reflection, and a quiet meditation on the impermanence of all things. The pyramids and tombs, standing resolute against time, are silent witnesses to endings that were both public and private, triumphant and tragic. Through the lens of these ancient lives, we come to appreciate the delicate balance between what can be known and what must remain hidden, the interplay of history and mystery that continues to captivate imaginations. In the hushed corridors of time, the deaths of the pharaohs are not just events. They're stories woven into the eternal sands, reminders that even the most powerful cannot escape the shadow of mortality, and that some secrets are destined to linger just beyond our reach. While some pharaohs' lives and deaths are meticulously documented, others slip through the cracks of history, their reigns fragmented or erased from the record entirely. These lost pharaohs, whose names appear only in scattered inscriptions or obscure mentions, evoke a profound sense of absence, a silence in the otherwise monumental narrative of ancient Egypt. Their stories are often reconstructed through incomplete texts, damaged tombs, and archaeological traces, leaving a delicate balance between what is known and what is irretrievably hidden. There is a quiet melancholy in contemplating these rulers, whose power was once absolute, yet whose memory now teeters on the edge of oblivion. They are shadows within shadows, their existence hinted at but never fully illuminated, a reminder that even those who claim divinity were subject to the erosive passage of time. Some of these forgotten rulers were deliberately obscured by political rivals or successors, erased from temples, defaced on statues, or omitted from official king lists. These acts of erasure were rarely accidental. They were strategic, designed to consolidate power or to sever the memory of a lineage that threatened the stability of the ruling dynasty. The deliberate omission of a pharaoh's existence speaks to the profound interplay between memory, authority, and history itself. By suppressing the past, rulers could shape the narrative of their present, ensuring that only the stories that bolstered their power survived. Yet paradoxically, these acts of concealment have amplified modern curiosity, leaving historians and archaeologists to search for fragments that survive, clues that whisper faintly through the millennia. Archaeological discoveries reveal tantalizing glimpses of these lost pharaohs. A ruined tomb, a damaged relief, or a fragment of a papyrus may hint at a life once significant but now veiled in obscurity. Each discovery is like a soft echo across time, a reminder that history is neither complete nor entirely reliable. In some cases, the reigns of these pharaohs were brief or marked by political instability, which may account for their marginalization in historical records. In others, their achievements may have been significant, yet intentionally erased by those who followed. The mystery of their existence fuels a quiet fascination, prompting questions about the fragility of legacy, the impermanence of power, and the stories that are lost as much as those that endure. The phenomenon of forgotten pharaohs also raises questions about the nature of historical evidence and a human desire for narrative cohesion. Ancient Egypt presents an image of order, continuity, and meticulous record-keeping, yet these gaps and absences reveal a more complex reality. History is often presented as a linear story of kings and dynasties, yet the erasure of certain figures disrupts this illusion. It is in these spaces, between the known and the unknown, the recorded and the hidden, that the deepest mysteries of the civilization reside. Lost pharaohs are reminders that power, even when absolute in life, is never immune to the vagaries of memory, interpretation, and time. The architectural landscape of Egypt itself hints at the existence of these rulers. Hidden chambers within pyramids, unmarked tombs in the Valley of the Kings, and anomalous structures suggest that more stories remain buried beneath the sands. Archaeologists painstakingly explore these sites, aware that each excavation could reveal a ruler previously lost to history. Some discoveries have reshaped our understanding of dynastic sequences, offering new insight into periods that were once considered chaotic or poorly documented. Yet with each revelation, more questions arise. Who were these rulers? What was their impact on the people and the land? Why were they consigned to obscurity? The sands guard their secrets jealously, and each uncovering is both a revelation and a reminder of what may never be known. Beyond the physical traces, the erasure of certain pharaohs reflects broader themes of power and vulnerability. Even those elevated as divine intermediaries between gods and humans could be rendered invisible, their names and deeds stripped away by those who survived them. The contrast between the permanence of monuments and the fragility of memory underscores a central paradox of Egyptian civilization: the desire for immortality through legacy, and the ease with which that legacy could be undone. These lost pharaohs embody the tension between ambition and erasure, between the glory of human achievement and the inevitability of historical oblivion. Their absence reminds us that history is shaped as much by silence as by documentation, and that the gaps themselves can be as compelling as the facts. In contemplating these forgotten rulers, one cannot help but reflect on the impermanence of fame and the selective nature of remembrance. The grandeur of pyramids and temples tells one story, but the voids in records tell another, equally important tale. These lost pharaohs leave behind questions rather than answers, inviting quiet meditation on the nature of memory, authority, and mortality. They remind us that every civilization, no matter how meticulously organized, carries within it mysteries that may never be fully understood. And in this quiet contemplation, there's a subtle beauty, the recognition that history is a living dialogue between presence and absence, between what endures and what is swallowed by time. Ultimately, the mystery of lost pharaohs reinforces the central theme of duality that runs through the history of ancient Egypt. While some rulers are immortalized in stone, their lives and deeds celebrated for millennia, others exist only in whispers and shadows, their stories fragmented and fleeting. It is in these contrasts that the allure of ancient Egypt persists, the interplay between light and darkness, revelation and concealment, memory and oblivion. By exploring the lives of these forgotten rulers, we gain not only insight into the complexities of power and legacy, but also a deeper understanding of the human desire to be remembered, even against the relentless passage of time. Each lost pharaoh becomes a quiet meditation on the ephemeral nature of existence, inviting us to peer into the shadows of history with curiosity, reverence, and wonder. The secrets of the pharaohs are often etched not only in scrolls and texts, but also in the very stones that surround their lives and deaths. Every temple wall, every carefully carved relief, every monumental statue carries layers of meaning, some obvious and some hidden, as if the pharaohs themselves had encoded their stories into the fabric of Egypt. The artistry of these creations was never merely decorative. It was intentional, a language of symbolism designed to communicate with the gods, to assert power over the living, and to protect the ruler in the afterlife. Yet within this visual language lies an enduring mystery. Subtle anomalies, unusual orientations, and cryptic motifs suggest that much of what the pharaohs wished to conceal was deliberately obscured, hidden in plain sight. To the casual observer, these works present the ordered splendor of Egyptian civilization, but a closer examination reveals a secret dialogue, whispered across the millennia, between the pharaoh and eternity. The placement of statues and reliefs often followed precise cosmic or numerological patterns, aligning with celestial bodies or seasonal events, imbuing the structures with a significance that goes beyond human comprehension. Some scholars have argued that these alignments were designed to encode not only religious knowledge, but also messages intended to be understood only by a select few: priests, advisors, or the pharaoh himself. Statues of deities and kings alike may hide subtle signs of lineage, succession, or hidden alliances, their poses and gestures telling stories that words could not safely convey. Hieroglyphs, while offering surface-level narratives, also contain double meanings, wordplay, and symbolic references, allowing those in power to communicate both publicly and privately. The pharaoh's mastery of this duality, between revelation and concealment, between image and intention, reinforces the notion that even the most visible monuments are not always what they seem. Certain architectural features deepen the sense of hidden knowledge. Temples and tombs often incorporate secret chambers, false doors, or labyrinthine passageways, the purpose of which may have been protective, symbolic, or intentionally enigmatic. In some cases, inscriptions within these spaces hint at rituals or warnings meant only for the initiated, designed to safeguard sacred truths from the unworthy or the curious. These concealed spaces blur the line between physical and metaphysical protection, suggesting that the pharaoh's secrets were layered, meant to endure both in the material world and in the spiritual realm. Modern explorers and archaeologists are sometimes left puzzled by inconsistencies. A wall painted with intricate iconography may contain subtle errors. An odd relief may seem out of place, or a tomb passage may lead to nowhere. These anomalies are not accidents. They are part of the deliberate interplay of concealment and revelation, a reminder that the pharaohs were masters not only of life and death, but also of perception and memory. The symbolism within art and architecture often reflects profound philosophical and spiritual ideas, including the duality of life and death, order and chaos, known and unknown. Animals, celestial symbols, and geometric patterns were carefully chosen to convey meanings that might escape the uninitiated. For instance, the juxtaposition of light and shadow within temple design could mirror the balance of creation and destruction, suggesting that the pharaoh's control extended beyond the visible world into unseen realms. Murals depicting daily life, religious ceremonies, or mythological events may carry hidden codes, allowing a ruler to communicate with future generations without risking immediate exposure. The pharaoh's ability to encode layers of meaning within their creations underscores a deep understanding of psychology, perception, and the subtle power of mystery. Some of the most intriguing examples come from pyramids and mortuary temples, where the very structure appears to conceal as much as it reveals. Hidden chambers, blocked corridors, and undeciphered inscriptions tantalize both historians and casual observers. For centuries, these enigmas have fueled speculation about secret knowledge, forbidden rituals, and even treasures lost to time. The deliberate obfuscation within these spaces serves as a testament to the pharaoh's desire to maintain control over their legacy, to protect their final resting places, and to ensure that only those deemed worthy could uncover the deeper truths. The silence of stone, the deliberate precision of placement, and the cryptic nature of certain carvings all contribute to an enduring sense of awe and mystery, inviting reflection on the interplay between human ambition and the unknowable. Even the statues themselves, often regarded as static representations of power, carry subtle hints of secrecy. The placement of hands, the tilt of a head, or the direction of a gaze could signify lineage, authority, or hidden allegiances. Deities depicted alongside pharaohs might embody protective qualities, or they might hint at cautionary tales and unspoken truths about divine favor and human ambition. In the modern age, the secrets of the pharaohs continue to captivate not only historians and archaeologists, but also the collective imagination of the world. Centuries after their reigns, these ancient rulers still exert a quiet power, drawing researchers into deserts, tombs, and ruins in search of answers that may never fully emerge. Advances in technology have transformed the ways we investigate these mysteries, revealing new dimensions of Egypt's history that were previously inaccessible. Ground-penetrating radar scans beneath pyramid floors, satellite imagery detects subtle anomalies in the desert landscape, and advanced forensic methods allow scientists to study mummies without disturbing their fragile remains. Each tool brings us closer to understanding, yet at the same time exposes the depth of the unknown, emphasizing that some truths were perhaps never meant to be fully unveiled. Modern researchers approach these discoveries with a balance of meticulous care and reverent awe, aware that each artifact or fragment could unlock a narrative lost to the sands of time. Tombs that remain sealed for thousands of years occasionally yield astonishing revelations. Previously unknown chambers, hidden relics, and inscriptions that challenge established chronologies. The thrill of uncovering these treasures is tempered by the fragility of their preservation. Delicate paintings, fragile papyrus fragments, and mummified remains require gentle handling, ensuring that the process of discovery does not destroy the very evidence we seek to study. In this careful, measured approach, there is a quiet poetry. The act of searching becomes a dialogue across millennia, a conversation between the living and those who have long passed into silence. Yet with every breakthrough comes a new layer of questions, reinforcing the notion that the Pharaohs' secrets were designed to endure beyond the reach of human curiosity. Even as imaging technology reveals hidden passageways or structural anomalies, the purpose and meaning of these discoveries remain tantalizingly ambiguous. For example, some unexcavated chambers suggest the existence of burial sites for pharaohs or members of their inner court. Yet whether these spaces were ever used or deliberately sealed is uncertain. Similarly, traces of unusual rituals or architectural irregularities hint at ceremonies that may have been intended for a select few or for purposes lost entirely to history. Each revelation demonstrates both the ingenuity of ancient Egyptian design and the enduring opacity of their intentions. The pursuit of these secrets also illustrates the delicate balance between human curiosity and respect for the past. While technology allows us to peer into tombs without opening them, the ethical considerations of disturbing sacred spaces persist. Researchers tread lightly, aware that the pharaohs' resting places were constructed to endure not only the passage of time, but also the gaze of the living. In this way, the modern exploration of ancient Egypt becomes a meditation on the tension between knowledge and preservation, between the thrill of discovery and the solemnity of reverence. Every scan, every excavation, every interpretation is guided not only by scientific rigor, but also by an awareness of the cultural and spiritual significance of these spaces. Modern archaeology has also illuminated aspects of daily life, social organization, and personal experience that were once hidden behind the grandeur of monuments and royal decrees. Advanced imaging and forensic techniques reveal details about diet, disease, and movement, offering glimpses of how the pharaohs lived, suffered, and prepared for the afterlife. Analysis of skeletal remains uncovers injuries, illnesses, and genetic traits, suggesting the physical vulnerabilities of rulers often perceived as invincible. These findings deepen our understanding of the human side of power. The pharaohs were individuals shaped by environment, circumstance, and health, and their vulnerabilities were concealed beneath layers of ceremonial authority and divine portrayal. The contrast between the visible majesty of their lives and the hidden fragility of their bodies mirrors the enduring duality of known versus unknown that pervades Egyptian history. The modern pursuit of the pharaoh's secrets also reveals how interpretations evolve over time. Early explorers and Egyptologists often relied on surface observations, sometimes misunderstanding or misrepresenting symbolic motifs, inscriptions, or spatial arrangements. Today, more sophisticated methods allow for nuanced interpretations, but these too are provisional, influenced by current knowledge, technological capability, and cultural perspective. Each new discovery requires careful contextualization within the vast and layered tapestry of Egyptian civilization, highlighting that understanding is a process rather than a destination. In this way, modern research reflects the ongoing dialogue between past and present, a quiet acknowledgement that the mysteries the pharaohs left behind are both enduring and elusive. Public fascination with these discoveries further underscores their enduring allure. Exhibitions, documentaries, and publications bring the secrets of ancient Egypt to audiences worldwide, blending historical scholarship with storytelling that evokes wonder, reverence, and sometimes fear. The pharaohs' lives and hidden practices resonate with contemporary fascination with power, mortality, and the unknown. In popular culture, their mysteries are dramatized and mythologized. Yet beneath this entertainment lies the profound human impulse to understand the past and to seek meaning in the lives of those who came before. Modern science and technology thus coexist with imagination and myth, creating a layered understanding that is itself a continuation of the pharaoh's legacy of controlled revelation. Even with all these modern tools, there remain enigmas that resist explanation. The precise purposes of some chambers, the meanings of certain hieroglyphic anomalies, and the rationale behind specific burial choices continue to elude definitive understanding. Each discovery often poses more questions than it answers, demonstrating that the pharaoh's desire for secrecy was not only deliberate, but profoundly effective. The very act of attempting to uncover their secrets becomes an engagement with the same tension the pharaohs themselves harnessed. The interplay between visibility and concealment, between human curiosity and the inscrutable nature of power. In this sense, modern archaeology is not merely a pursuit of knowledge. It is an experience of encountering and respecting the carefully curated mysteries left by those who ruled millennia ago. Ultimately, the modern pursuit of the pharaoh's secrets reminds us that history is alive, fluid, and layered. Each new technological insight, each careful observation, adds a chapter to an ongoing story, one in which the past speaks to the present without ever fully revealing its intentions. The pharaohs' lives, rituals, and hidden spaces continue to inspire awe precisely because they are both known and unknown, tangible and elusive. By merging science, observation, and imagination, we engage with a civilization that mastered both the public and private realms, leaving a legacy that challenges, fascinates, and humbles us. In contemplating the discoveries of today, we are invited to reflect on the nature of knowledge itself, the limits of understanding, the beauty of mystery, and the enduring resonance of secrets crafted thousands of years ago, still whispering across the sands of time. As we journey deeper into the shadowed corridors of ancient Egypt, the lives and secrets of the pharaohs begin to reveal truths that extend beyond history into the realm of human reflection. While much of what we uncover focuses on power, ritual, and mortality, there is a subtler lesson embedded in these mysteries: the enduring tension between ambition and fragility, legacy and oblivion. The pharaohs, elevated to near-divine status in their lifetimes, were nevertheless bound by the same universal laws that govern all existence. They sought immortality through monuments, inscriptions, and intricate rituals, yet the impermanence of their physical lives reminds us that even the mightiest cannot escape time. In contemplating their lives and the secrets they guarded, we are invited to consider the delicate balance between human aspiration and human limitation, and the ways in which history remembers, distorts, and sometimes forgets. The concept of power in ancient Egypt was both absolute and precarious. The pharaoh's authority extended over land, resources, and the lives of countless individuals, yet it was constantly negotiated through ritual, tradition, and political maneuvering. Behind every grand temple and monumental statue lay intricate webs of loyalty and control, where even the smallest misstep could ripple into catastrophe. Hidden chambers, encoded symbols, and secret ceremonies were not only spiritual tools, but also instruments of governance, designed to maintain both order and fear. By studying these mechanisms, we gain insight into the complex interplay between visibility and concealment, understanding that authority in ancient Egypt was as much a performance as it was a reality. The lessons extend to the present, reminding us that the wielding of power, no matter how absolute it appears, is always accompanied by vulnerability and uncertainty. Mortality is another lens through which the pharaoh's secrets illuminate timeless truths. Despite their claims to divinity and their elaborate preparations for the afterlife, the pharaohs were profoundly mortal. Their bodies aged, succumbed to disease, or fell victim to injury, and their deaths sometimes occurred under circumstances shrouded in suspicion. Yet it is within these mortal limits that the human dimension of their lives emerges. The meticulous care taken in mummification, tomb construction, and ritual observance reflects a deep awareness of mortality and a desire to transcend it. At the same time, the unresolved mysteries surrounding their deaths, sudden illness, potential assassination, or political erasure, remind us that even the most meticulous planning cannot fully overcome the unpredictability of existence. This duality, the interplay between preparation and uncertainty, mirrors our own human attempts to impose order on life while confronting the inevitability of its end. Legacy, both intentional and accidental, forms another central theme in the study of the pharaohs' hidden lives. The structures, symbols, and texts left behind were designed to project power, memory, and permanence, yet the survival of these legacies has been inconsistent. Some pharaohs are immortalized in grand monuments, their names echoing across centuries, while others were deliberately erased, leaving only whispers of their existence. The selective survival of memory underscores the fragile nature of legacy and the ways in which history is shaped not only by deeds, but also by perception and interpretation. In contemplating the lives of these rulers, we are reminded that legacy is not solely constructed by intention. It is shaped equally by circumstance, reception, and the passage of time. The pharaohs' efforts to control their remembrance, juxtaposed with the gaps and erasures left behind, invite reflection on the limits of human influence and the enduring mystery of historical memory. The philosophical dimensions of the pharaohs' secrets extend beyond power and mortality into the realm of ethical and spiritual contemplation. Many of the hidden rituals, encoded symbols, and private chambers reflect an understanding of the interconnectedness of life, death, and the cosmos. By engaging with these practices, we are offered glimpses into a worldview where the material and spiritual, the visible and invisible, are in constant interplay. The pharaohs' attempts to manipulate perception, control information, and encode their legacies suggest a profound awareness of human psychology and the intricate mechanisms by which meaning is preserved or concealed. These lessons resonate today, encouraging reflection on how knowledge, secrecy, and interpretation shape the narratives we construct about ourselves, others, and the past. Even the smallest details, when considered together, reveal a broader meditation on human existence. The placement of a statue, the orientation of a tomb, the choice of hieroglyphs, all serve as a reminder that life is an interplay of intention, circumstance, and perception. The pharaoh's secrets invite us to slow down, to observe closely, and to contemplate the layers of meaning that extend beyond what is immediately visible. In this sense, the study of ancient Egypt becomes a practice of mindfulness, a reflection on patience, curiosity, and the acceptance of mystery. Each discovery, each interpretation, offers not only historical insight, but also a subtle lesson about humility and perspective, highlighting the limitations of human knowledge and the enduring allure of the unknown. The duality of known and unknown, visible and hidden, life and death, echoes through the quiet corridors of history, encouraging reflection on the universality of these themes. In understanding the pharaoh's secrets, we recognize that much of their power lay not only in what they commanded, but also in what they concealed. Their deliberate orchestration of perception, the careful encoding of messages, and the creation of layered legacies all point to a sophisticated awareness of the human condition. These rulers were architects not only of stone and ritual, but also of perception itself, manipulating knowledge and secrecy to preserve authority and ensure continuity. The resonance of these strategies is timeless, offering lessons in leadership, foresight, and the careful management of information that remain relevant across cultures and eras. Ultimately, the exploration of the pharaoh's secrets invites quiet contemplation on the human condition. It reminds us that ambition, mortality, and legacy are intertwined, and that the tension between visibility and concealment shapes both individual lives and the broader currents of history. By reflecting on these themes, we are encouraged to consider our own relationships with power, memory, and the desire for permanence. The pharaohs' lives and mysteries serve as a mirror, revealing not only the intricacies of ancient civilization, but also the enduring questions that define human existence. How we navigate ambition, confront mortality, and seek to leave a mark upon the world. Their secrets, preserved in stone, pigment, and ritual, whisper across the millennia, inviting us to listen with patience, curiosity, and reverence. In the end, the dark, hidden truths of the pharaohs are more than historical curiosities. They are reflections of timeless human concerns. The tension between control and uncertainty, visibility and concealment, life and death, extends far beyond the boundaries of ancient Egypt. It invites us to consider how we, too, navigate our own hidden truths, the narratives we choose to reveal, and those we carefully guard. In meditating upon these mysteries, there is a quiet invitation to embrace curiosity, to ponder the unknown, and to find meaning in the spaces where history, mystery, and human reflection converge. The pharaohs, in guarding their secrets so meticulously, have left us not only puzzles to solve, but also lessons in contemplation, humility, and wonder, a legacy that endures far beyond stone, time, and the desert sands. The mysteries of the pharaohs continue to exert an almost magnetic pull on the imagination, transcending the boundaries of history and archaeology to influence literature, art, and popular culture. Even today, the allure of these ancient rulers persists, drawing scholars, travelers, and dreamers alike into the quiet expanses of deserts, tombs, and ruins. Their secrets, preserved in stone, paint, and ritual, seem to whisper across millennia, inviting reflection on power, mortality, and the human desire to leave a lasting mark. This enduring fascination reveals a profound truth. The pharaohs were not simply rulers of their time, but architects of an imagination that continues to captivate, blending fact with legend in ways that are simultaneously tantalizing and elusive. The fascination begins with their public image, carefully cultivated to convey divine authority and unshakable control. Yet, as we have seen, beneath the gilded veneer lay a world of intrigue, secrecy, and carefully guarded knowledge. Modern fascination arises from this tension. The contrast between the visible grandeur and the hidden realities, between the stories preserved in hieroglyphs and the gaps left intentionally by the pharaohs themselves. In literature, film, and art, these dualities are amplified, transforming the pharaohs into symbols of eternal mystery. They are simultaneously powerful and vulnerable, known and unknowable, a blend that resonates deeply with the human fascination for what lies just beyond comprehension. Tourists and historians alike are drawn to the physical manifestations of these mysteries. Standing before a pyramid, walking through a mortuary temple, or glimpsing the intricate carvings of a tomb wall, one is immediately confronted with both the scale of human ambition and the weight of secrecy that surrounds it. These sites serve as reminders of the extraordinary lengths to which the pharaohs went to preserve their legacies and protect their hidden truths. They also reveal the persistence of human curiosity, the desire to probe, to uncover, and to connect with lives that ended thousands of years ago. Every stone, every inscription, every shadowed corridor carries the potential to spark wonder, reflection, and quiet contemplation. The allure of pharaonic mystery is further intensified by the interplay between known and unknown. Archaeological findings, technological discoveries, and historical research illuminate parts of the past. Yet with each revelation come new questions. Hidden chambers, cryptic inscriptions, and architectural anomalies remind us that the pharaohs' control extended not only to their visible achievements, but also to the secrets they took to the grave. The more we uncover, the more the enigma deepens. This dynamic, where knowledge leads to further mystery, is central to the enduring fascination with these rulers, and it highlights a broader theme that resonates across cultures and time periods. The interplay between curiosity, discovery, and the recognition that some truths may remain forever beyond reach. Popular culture has embraced these mysteries in ways that amplify their timeless appeal. Films, novels, and documentaries often dramatize the secret lives of pharaohs, blending historical research with imagination to evoke suspense, awe, and reverence. While these depictions sometimes blur the line between fact and fiction, they also reflect a universal human impulse, the desire to understand the unknown, to explore the hidden aspects of power, and to grapple with the eternal questions of life, death, and legacy. In this sense, the pharaohs' secrets have transcended their own era, shaping not only the understanding of ancient history, but also the ways in which we interpret and engage with mystery itself. The modern pursuit of these ancient enigmas is not only a scholarly endeavor, but also a deeply reflective experience. Engaging with the remnants of Egypt's past invites meditation on impermanence, the passage of time, and the limits of human understanding. The pharaohs' attempts to control perception, preserve knowledge, and encode messages across millennia serve as subtle lessons in the interplay between revelation and concealment, authority and humility, permanence and vulnerability. Visitors to tombs or pyramids often describe a profound stillness, a sense of presence that transcends the tangible and evokes contemplation on mortality, ambition, and the enduring resonance of human effort. Even the smallest details contribute to the enduring fascination. A misaligned hieroglyph, a shadow cast by a column, or a subtle anomaly in a relief may hint at deliberate concealment or hidden meaning. These features invite viewers and researchers to pause, to observe closely, and to consider the layered intentions of those who created them. The allure lies not solely in discovery, but in the act of interpretation itself, in the recognition that understanding is partial and provisional, and that the pharaoh's careful orchestration of secrecy was both deliberate and enduring. The tension between clarity and ambiguity, visibility and concealment, continues to draw the imagination, ensuring that these ancient mysteries remain alive in the mind even as centuries pass. Ultimately, the continued allure of the pharaoh's mysteries underscores a timeless human fascination with the unknown. Their lives, rituals, and secrets resonate not only because of the grandeur of their civilization, but also because they embody the universal themes of curiosity, ambition, mortality, and the desire to be remembered. Even as technology, research, and interpretation reveal new insights, the shadows they left behind endure, inviting reflection, meditation, and quiet wonder. The pharaoh's secrets persist as silent teachers, reminding us of the delicate balance between revelation and concealment, knowledge and mystery, the seen and the unseen. In standing before the remnants of ancient Egypt, we are confronted with both the brilliance and the enigma of the pharaohs. Their legacy is not simply in the monuments they built or the inscriptions they left behind, but in the enduring fascination they inspire. The invitation to explore the delicate tension between history and mystery, fact and legend, permanence and impermanence. Their secrets, carefully preserved across millennia, continue to speak to us, quietly urging us to look closer, to listen attentively, and to contemplate the eternal interplay of light and shadow that defines both their world and our own. The allure of the pharaoh's mysteries endures because it engages a timeless part of the human spirit, the desire to seek understanding while embracing the beauty of what remains hidden. As we draw the narrative of the pharaoh's secrets to a close, it becomes clear that the legacy they left behind is as much about mystery as it is about power. The pyramids, temples, and tombs are not merely relics of a bygone civilization. They are vessels of memory, intent, and enigma, carefully constructed to endure the passage of time. Each monument, each carving, and each inscription carries layers of meaning, some visible and some intentionally obscured, inviting us into a world where reality and myth coexist. The pharaohs' meticulous orchestration of secrecy reminds us that even in their grandeur, there was an awareness of the impermanence of life and the fragility of legacy. By reflecting on these deliberate acts of concealment, we gain insight not only into the rulers themselves, but also into the universal human desire to be remembered, understood, and revered beyond the limits of mortality. The tension between revelation and concealment runs through every aspect of the pharaoh's existence. Publicly, they embodied divinity, authority, and control, their lives celebrated in monumental architecture, vibrant murals, and inscriptions that proclaimed their power. Privately, they maneuvered through complex webs of intrigue, threats, and mortality, all while planning for a continuation of influence in the afterlife. This duality, the seen and the unseen, the known and the hidden, is a defining characteristic of their reigns, and it is what makes their stories endure so compellingly. By engaging with both the visible and the secretive, we gain a fuller understanding of their civilization, its priorities, and its profound awareness of the human condition. The preservation of these secrets was not merely an act of vanity. It was a strategic response to the fragility of life and the uncertainty of history. Through hidden chambers, cryptic symbols, and carefully orchestrated rituals, the pharaohs exerted control over the narrative of their lives, deaths, and legacies. Some of these measures were practical, intended to protect tombs and treasures from desecration. Others were symbolic, designed to safeguard spiritual truths and ensure continuity in the cosmic order they were believed to uphold. The combination of physical, spiritual, and intellectual concealment demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of both human curiosity and the power of perception. In this, the pharaohs teach us that influence extends beyond immediate authority. It encompasses the shaping of memory, belief, and interpretation across time. Even in the modern era, the echoes of their secrets reverberate. Archaeologists, historians, and casual observers alike are captivated by the fragments they have left behind. Technology has provided unprecedented tools to explore these mysteries. Ground-penetrating radar, non-invasive imaging, and forensic analysis have unveiled previously hidden chambers, clarified obscure inscriptions, and shed light on the lives and deaths of rulers long gone. Yet despite these advances, each discovery raises new questions, reinforcing the deliberate obscurity the pharaohs cultivated. The more we uncover, the more apparent it becomes that these rulers engineered a legacy that is simultaneously illuminated and elusive. This enduring tension is what continues to fascinate, inviting reflection not only on ancient Egypt, but also on the nature of history, memory, and human curiosity itself. The lessons embedded in the pharaohs' secrets extend beyond archaeology and history. They invite meditation on the universal themes of life, death, power, and impermanence. The grandeur of monuments and rituals reflects humanity's aspiration toward permanence, while the hidden, unexplained elements remind us that some aspects of existence will always elude control. In considering these dualities, we are prompted to reflect on our own relationship with legacy, memory, and the passage of time. The pharaohs' lives, carefully curated for the world they left behind, serve as a mirror, reflecting both our desire for significance and the inherent limitations that accompany it. Their meticulous management of perception, both during life and after death, offers a subtle meditation on humility, foresight, and the delicate balance between visibility and concealment. The pharaoh's mysteries are also deeply intertwined with the human fascination with the unknown. Hidden chambers, cryptic symbols, and the deliberate erasure of certain names from history provoke a curiosity that transcends centuries. We are drawn to gaps in knowledge, to the spaces where history and legend intersect, because they invite imagination and speculation. These enigmas are not failures of documentation, but rather a testament to the pharaohs' enduring understanding of narrative and influence. By carefully curating what was seen and unseen, They ensured that their stories would continue to intrigue, provoke thought, and inspire wonder long after their physical presence had faded. As we contemplate the pharaohs' secrets in their totality, a larger meditation emerges on the nature of time, memory, and human existence. Their monuments endure, weathered yet magnificent, standing as both witnesses and guardians of the past. Yet even as we walk through tombs, gaze at statues, or study inscriptions, we are reminded of the mysteries that remain unsolved. The purpose of hidden chambers, the meaning of cryptic symbols, and the lives of pharaohs deliberately erased from history. These gaps, and the questions they provoke, are as important as the discoveries themselves. They allow us to engage with the past, not merely as spectators, but as participants in an ongoing dialogue, one that spans millennia and invites contemplation on the impermanence, fragility, and wonder of human life. In the final reflection, it becomes clear that the pharaohs' greatest achievement may not be the monuments themselves, but the enduring curiosity and introspection they inspire. By engineering a world in which the visible and the hidden coexist, they created a space for exploration, meditation, and awe. Every stone, every carving, and every shadowed corridor tells a story, not just of ancient rulers, but of human aspiration, fear, and the relentless desire to shape memory. In engaging with these secrets, we confront both the brilliance and the limitations of human endeavor, recognizing that the pursuit of knowledge is ongoing, layered, and often intertwined with wonder and humility. The mysteries of the pharaohs remind us that history is never complete, that knowledge is always partial, and that some truths are meant to inspire reflection rather than certainty. Their lives and secrets invite a quiet curiosity, a willingness to linger in the space between revelation and concealment. By following the traces they left behind, we gain insight into ancient civilizations, human psychology, and the eternal questions that continue to define existence. What it means to live, to be remembered, and to leave a legacy. In their deliberate concealments and preserved revelations, the pharaohs have gifted us not only a record of their civilization, but a meditation on life, death, and the enduring allure of mystery. Ultimately, as we step back from the tombs, pyramids, and temples, a sense of calm reflection settles. The pharaohs' secrets have been both revealed and preserved, guiding us through a landscape of wonder, curiosity, and quiet contemplation. Their legacy endures because it is layered, deliberate, and imbued with the tension between what is seen and what remains hidden. In studying and reflecting upon these ancient mysteries, we are invited to embrace patience, reverence, and the beauty of the unknown. And in that space between history and mystery, fact and legend, we find not only the story of ancient Egypt, but also a mirror of our own fascination with life, legacy, and the eternal passage of time.